Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for tuning in to my webinar entitled Choosing the Perfect Photography Location. I am Anisha Jones. I'm a public relations master's student at Full Sail University. Prior to coming here, I was a graduate of Jackson State University with a Bachelor of Science in Mass Communications. I'm from Canton, Mississippi. As a photographer myself, I know that many of us face the challenge of finding the perfect location for a shoot. We want to provide new and unique locations to our clients, but sometimes it can be difficult. In this webinar, we'll be providing the steps you will be taking to choosing the best photography location for portrait photography. According to Photography Mad, choosing to shoot in cities or crowded places can be the worst location to shoot portrait photography. You and your subject will have to constantly move out of pedestrians' way. Individuals may get in your frame while you're trying to take a picture. There will be some individuals who will constantly stop and ask questions, inquiring about who you are and what you are doing. This may cause your subject to get overwhelmed, and that individual will have trouble trying to relax. When choosing a location, you must not distract the attention away from your subject. Location is crucial, but the subject is the star of the show. Upon taking a picture, analyze to see if you are paying more attention to the subject or the background. If you're paying more attention to the background, you may need to reconsider your focus. According to Karthika Gupta, one of the biggest problems photographers face is lighting. All lighting is different and will impact your portraits differently. This means that when you are searching for locations, you must pay attention to the quality of light. The light quality may differ at different times of day. Here are some good tips to consider. Avoid the sunlight. Use natural lighting and seek light shade. Lighting is different depending on the time of day. Let's take a look at three different types of natural lighting. You have morning light, afternoon light, and evening light. Morning light is usually soft and delicate. Afternoon light is usually harsh, and it will shine directly in the subject's face, which will leave them constantly shielding their face from the sun. Evening light is usually warm with a golden tone. The truth is, any of these different lights can be used, but you must learn to adjust your camera and your subject so that the sun is not directly shining in their face. According to Mason Lindblad, when you're choosing a location, the scenery within the location must match the story you are trying to create. This means think about what you want to shoot. Are you shooting birthday photography? Is it a graduation? Is it a baby shower? What type of message are you trying to portray to the audience? Once you figure this out, it will help you choose the correct location or the appropriate location in which you want to shoot. Props help enhance the mood and appearance of each portrait. Each prop you use must complement the scenery in the location you will be using. According to Melissa Gregerson, props add interest, depth, and flair to portraits. There are many different types of props. Remember that anything can be used as a prop. Maybe you're shooting graduation portraits and you simply want to use a tassel, a graduation cap, or a dry erase board that says, I finally made it. Consider you are taking portraits for someone's birthday. Maybe you want jumbo sized balloons with their age, or a confetti filled birthday cake. Whatever you choose to use must complement the subject and the background you have selected. The next important step is identifying your subject. Take a moment to get to know your subject. Find out what they are comfortable with, what are their hobbies or interests. Maybe they like music and want to be shot in a local recording studio. They could possibly like the outdoors and want to be shot near a flower patch. Everyone's personality is different, but this is what makes them unique. Their uniqueness is something that we wish to capture in their portrait. The purpose of getting to know the subject is to get them as relaxed as possible when you're shooting. Your goal is to make the shoot as meaningful as possible. Here are a few tips for finding location. Explore new areas. Go to areas you've never been to before. Use Google Maps. Visit a location at different times of the day. You may want to visit the location at morning, afternoon, or night. This is a way you can get a feel of the lighting. Join online photography groups. You can actually get in interaction with different photographers, and they can actually provide you with advice on different locations for shooting.
Hey guys, Ryan here at Signature Edits, and today I'm going to be sharing my top 10 photography locations with you. You got it. Because when it comes to planning a photo shoot, finding a great location can be the trickiest part, especially if you've kind of used up all the spots around your town. I mean, if you're in a small town, it can be even trickier. If you're in a big city, maybe you have some more advantages, but there's also disadvantages. For instance, there's no nature near you. We're going to look at 10 spots that almost every single town will have that are my go-tos when it comes to planning a portrait, a fashion, an editorial, or even an engagement or wedding shoot. Let's dive in and I'll show you how. Alright, so photo shoot location number 1 is textured walls. Honestly, a boring old wall can be the perfect background because it doesn't draw attention away from your subject. Plus, walls reflect and bounce light, so your subject will likely get some backlight or wraparound light reflected on the wall. So whether it's a plain wall or a colored wall to add more interest, just keep an eye open when you pass buildings and you look for interesting textures or colors, or even a plain texture or color, or an interesting light. For instance, this wall would actually be pretty ugly by itself, but because of the angle of the light coming down here, it looks really great. Photo shoot location number 2. Industrial parks. So this is kind of going off of where do I find walls in the first place. Industrial parks is a perfect place to find interesting textures and colors and geometry and leading lines, all sorts of things, because there's so much going on in industrial parks and because they're not kept up to look perfect and pretty. So here we've got, I don't even know, it might be a trash bin or it might just be a aluminum sided door, whatever it is. It's very interesting for photos and lends itself greatly. So you can find different lighting, different textures, especially if you can get a big warehouse, you've got some nice depth there to work with, or even finding equipment. Obviously, without breaking any laws or rules, you want to be careful about this, but it can be a perfect place to find interesting photo shoot locations. Photo shoot location number 3 is greenhouses. So if you're in a small town, maybe you don't instantly have a greenhouse in mind that you have access to, but almost every town I know of has some kind of a grower or a nursery for plants. Chances are there is one near you. You just might not know about it yet. Most of these places have public access, or if they don't, you can ask and they will gladly let you in there in exchange for sending a few photos. So you'd be amazed what you can get just by asking. And why are greenhouses great? Because they have so many different colors, textures, and the lighting is fantastic because you've got really soft light coming from all angles because there's so many windows in a greenhouse. Photo shoot location number 4 is graffiti. So finding spots with graffiti, if you're struggling, the local skateboard park is pretty much a sure bet. And again, it's just all about color and texture and interest in your photos. Here I really love this guy because it's color coordinated, so you have that background assisting in the photo. It's not just random. In the same way, these two are wearing kind of punk-esque clothing, so it really blends with the background of the graffiti. Number 5 for photo shoot locations that are my go-tos is water. Pretty much anywhere with water. If you're by the ocean, go to the ocean. If you're by a lake, go to the lake. If you're by a river, you got it. Go to the river because you've got so many reflections coming off the water. You've got different puddles going on. You've got textures, and there's something about water that is just vibey. So find water and you're pretty much going for a sure thing. If you have an ocean near you, maybe you've got a harbor you can go to or a marina. Those are fantastic places, both for interesting buildings and also for textures going on and colors with the different boats and leading lines because you've got the symmetry of the docks. Same thing, if you're even inland and you don't have access to the ocean, go to a little marina somewhere. And you've got all the boats lined up and perhaps vistas of the city in the background. You don't necessarily even need a lake or a river. Just keep your eye open. Maybe there's a puddle near the spot you're already shooting and you can get some interesting reflections off of there. Photo shoot location number 5 is rooftops. Rooftops are pretty much the sweetest thing ever. Why? Well, maybe it's just because we weren't allowed to get up on them when we were kids, but even though access can sometimes be a little difficult, once you find a spot, they're pretty much quiet and private to the extreme. You also get a view from above. So it doesn't have to be a rooftop necessarily. You can maybe even just use a ledge or a high sidewalk, whatever it is. But basically, you just want to get high. And no, I don't mean in like the recreational sense. I mean high elevation wise. Photoshoot location number 7, my go-to is find a staircase. Staircases are absolutely fantastic spots for portraits because they give lots of natural leading lines and often have interesting angles and textures going on. So sitting, standing, walking up, walking down, it really doesn't matter. You have so many different angles as well as action shots that you can get when you're on a stairway. Photo location number 8 is parking lots. So pretty much every town in the world has a parking lot, if not a parking garage to work with, and those are fantastic places. Why? Because they're dry, because they tend to be pretty private, and because you have those interesting textures and angles and architecture to work with. So they combine multiple locations in one. Really, you're getting a rooftop, staircases, an industrial setting, interesting textures, lots of depth and geometry. And as a bonus, parking lots are pretty much the perfect spot if the light outside is terrible, because the light inside a parking lot is most of the time pretty soft. Photoshoot location number 9 is any place that is broken down. Pretty much look for old stuff. There's something cool about old stuff that's just cool. So hipsters have already nailed that one, as we know. Old junk shops or even pawn shops are fantastic places to just find old stuff and go around there. Photo shoot location number 10, head out into nature. You don't necessarily have to have a cool, vibey spot to take amazing photos. You can head out into what God has already created for us. Awesome trees, rivers, tents, bushes, whatever, you name it. Head out into a field and get creative. Alright, so that does it for our top 10 photography locations that are easily accessible to pretty much everybody on this planet. I hope this was helpful for you, and it helps to spark some ideas when it comes to finding locations of your own. Just looking for interesting textures, colors, locations, geometry, places that are going to have great light, and just adding something interesting to tie in your photos and tell a story. Whether it's a textured wall, industrial parks, greenhouses, graffiti, water, rooftops, staircases, parking lots, pretty much anything old or broken down, or good old-fashioned Mother Nature, you never have to run out of photoshoot locations again. Alright, if you have a location that I've missed, please leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if this was helpful, and check out our next video. Take care.
Thanks for joining my webinar. I do hope these tips were very helpful for you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.